So for those people who I'm in the core training, definitely one of the better, in my opinion, it's like the best mortgage training platform out there, but to each their own, right? I'm just a glutton for punishment. But I went to the summit in May. I went to their sales mega in August, and then I'm going to their summit in October. So there's like 15 spots left. As a lender, there's like an income limit for it to get into their summits, and then the mega anybody can go to, and those are always in August. So it's a really great event to really structure like teams, how to build that out, how to work on your sales activity, how to get more leads, how to get more realtors. All this stuff I'm talking about today is from the core. And it's just a great system. So that's really the only events that I go to. I'd love to go to like AIM or do some kind of like other stuff in Vegas, but I just haven't taken the time to actually schedule that yet.
Yeah, I know they had AIM coming up, and they have the other national conference too in Las Vegas too, I think in September or October. So
yeah,
that'd be awesome stuff.
And I'm not with cross country, so I can't do any of their fun stuff either.
Oh, do they have law stuff? I don't even know.
They have I think they have like an annual like sales rally or something like that. So
got it. Well, next the mortgage has one in Arizona we can go to. So that'll be good. That was a big controversy. I thought, oh, we have 2 more people join. Let me go and cool.
And we can give it a few minutes too. I'm fine with starting like right at like 3:03 or something like that. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. There's probably gonna be more people coming in, but yeah, and we'll probably just jump into it in a second. Let me see. Anyway, hey, and well, just to kind of like give a good background, like Jonathan and I have been friends for a while now. He's up in Indiana, right? Are you licensed in any other states, Jonathan?
Yeah, so I'm licensed in Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, and Florida.
So your dad's been in lending for a long time, and he's got you in, or what kind of?
He got in back in 2011, so about 11 years. So not terribly long, but he's been in for a while.
Got it. But you kind of saw that, like when you were in high school or whatever, you kind of saw him rising up, growing volume, kind of seeing all the sales activities and everything, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we have plenty of time to talk about this too. So like when he was a pastor before, I think we talked about that, and then 2008 happened. We were underwater on the house until, we didn't leave the house until 2010, but he lost his main job because the church split up or whatever. So he was working 3 jobs to kind of keep everything together. And we ended up just not being able to make the payments anymore. So he had to max out the cash advance on a credit card, get out from under the house. And then we moved in with my grandpa for about a year. During that time, I saw like him work 3 different jobs. He got offered a job to be a loan officer. So he took that, and that's how he got in the business. And just kind of seeing that like hustle, I guess is like lack of a better word for it, really motivated me to do something like that with my life, kind of seeing that as I was developing into an adult. So it was super fun, kind of going through all that. And
you started pretty young, right? Like when you were getting into business.
Yeah, so that's fine. We're all friends on the call here. So I got my license when I was 18, and then I'm 23 now, so I've been doing it for about 5 years.
Good for you. Good for you.
So
awesome.
Yeah, so it is 5 years in, just rocking and rolling, and making it all happen, or at least trying to. So
cool. So what really got my attention too is that I think you had posted something, and you could correct me if this is wrong, where you said, hey, I had a killer 2021 year, and I don't want to misrepresent anything, so you can correct me if that's wrong. And then March, February and March, we all got really hit with like volume going down, with rates going higher, just a lot of pain, right? Is that what you would categorize it as? Kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share some pain with you guys, because again, we're all friends on the call. So last year, I was riding high, right? Everyone was riding high last year, I feel like, because that was the market. You were just killing refis, doing some purchase loans, all that stuff was great. So I was, making about 250 last year, and I was spending like I was making 250, because that was, what you do when you're young and stupid, right? So the end of the market turned really quickly for me, because I don't have a huge book of past clients, right? Because I'm still developing that and getting everything taken care of there. So all my clients are pretty much first-time home buyers anyways. So market was tough for first-time home buyers, not a lot of inventory, because it's, winter in Indiana. And so it's like negative 15 degrees below zero. And then you've got, no refis either. So there was about 3 months there where I didn't close more than 1 or 2 loans per month. And I was still spending like I was making all this money. So $30,000 in credit card debt later, I was really had some hard choices I needed to face, right? And my coach at the time really was, busting me up because I wasn't making the calls, wasn't doing what I needed to do, and I was really, just not in a good place financially. So ended up doubling up the sales activity I was supposed to be doing, working this realtor boot camp, and then fast forward 6 months, all my credit card debt's been paid off. I've got some savings now in the bank, which is great. In that process, I'd also moved to a new place. I bought a new place, so it probably wasn't the best decision at that time, but I was already like in on it. And so now life is considerably less stressful. So that is amazing. And I hope that this realtor boot camp helps everybody else with getting to a point financially where they're not stressed and they can, afford to actually breathe. So it's always a good thing.
Got it. That's awesome. So, okay, cool. Hopefully that gives a lot of, I guess, just reference to everyone on the call. So yeah, so really it's going to be just kind of strategy that he joined where we all were doing a huge amount of loans in 2021. Volume kind of dropped, and then it's just kind of going back to the core activities of like what we do every single day, just to make sure that we're staying successful. Like we can't just be waiting for the phone to call now with business. Like I was talking to one agent, and she was making the point that probably because she's in Phoenix, Arizona, and the market like just from April of this year up until probably like May until July. It was like almost 2 months, but it switched from like seller's market to like buyer's market. So it's almost like, oh, we don't even really want listings now. We just want buyers. It was kind of like a dramatic change. So here's what we're going to be doing to be successful. So Jonathan, do you want to just jump into it? Like, do you want me to share the Excel?
Yeah, if you want to share the Excel, that'd be awesome. And then we're just going to hop right into this.
Can you see it?
So as we pull up the Excel, everyone should have a copy of this. I think we're going to post it in the sheets as well, or a sheet in the chat. And if you guys have like 100 DMs that I need to respond back to as well. So I'm going to probably just post this in the actual group itself too. So that way everyone has access to this. But I want to first start with like the actual mindset of, a successful salesperson, right? Not that I'm like terribly successful by any means. I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that are even more qualified to actually give this information. But, this is what we're talking about today. So a book that I just recently read was Fanatical Prospecting. So definitely check that out, and I can link to it below as well. But it really kind of shifts your mindset as a salesperson to make sure you're going out there and making the calls, seeing the people, and doing the activity you need to do to have the actual success that you need to have in your business. And so at the very end of the book, there's a story about the author's son, who is a football player for his local middle school. And they had a football game, and it was like their rival, and they always lost for like 6 years in a row. And so the coach keeps yelling at these kids as they're in this middle of this football game that they've prepared for the whole season. How bad do you want it, kids? How bad do you want it, right? And I feel like that's a really good mindset to have right now in our business is how bad do you want it? Because I know I've been there where I haven't made my sales calls for the day, or I have 1 or 2 more calls I could be making, or there's somebody that I need to reach out to. And I'm tired, or I'm sluggish, and I don't feel like doing it, or I need to send out that pre-approval letter at 11 o'clock at night or whatever it is. And you just have to think back to how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want the success you need to have in your business, right? So if this form seems kind of daunting, it is, but how bad do you really want it, right? And let me tell you, calling 100 realtors is a lot better than facing bankruptcy. So that's your alternative, right? So first thing there is you need to have 100 realtors on this boot camp. So I don't know where everyone is with their business right now. Either you're seasoned and you have 100 realtors that you know, or you're not, right? That's the 2 simple answers. So if you have 100 realtors, great, put them on here. If you need help finding realtors, you can look through past transactions, and you can look at who you've worked with on the buy side, who you worked with on the listing side. If you get referrals from real estate agents and you track that, which you should be, you can go through your lead tracker and see who's referred you over the last year to year and a half and start calling on those people. If you still need more realtors, you can attend networking events like we all should be, or awesome, Larry, love that. Or you can even post on Facebook, right? And say, hey, who, if you were to purchase a home today, who would you use for your real estate agent? And I think you can like tag like at everybody on Facebook. That might be a little annoying, but whatever it takes, right? So put that out there. Even the agents that you work with on a consistent basis, you can call them and say, hey, Nathan, We work together a lot. You're amazing. I really love working with you. Who from your office or who is somebody that you know that's a real estate agent that's just like you that I don't know yet? And so that's where I've had a lot of my success with getting new real estate relationships, is asking my current agents, who do you know that's a great realtor that I don't know yet? And then they'll give me a name or two, and I'll say, great, why don't we go ahead and get lunch together next week? Let's put it in our calendar, and I'll buy both of you lunch, and let's just have a conversation. I'd love to get introduced to them. Because if you're saying that they're a rock star agent, I want to be working with rock star agents. And I'll tell you guys, that's actually the easiest way to get new real estate agents, because that whole lunch, I'm just sitting there, and the agent that I know is bragging about me to the agent that I don't know that's right there in front of me. And so it's the easiest sale ever, because you're not even doing anything. You're just sitting there paying for lunch and having a good time, right? Another thing that I do is I'll do like poker nights at my house. I'll do like golf events. So there's like a golf simulator about 5 minutes away from my house. So I'll go over there, get a couple of my agents and tell them, hey, bring a friend of yours, right? They'll bring a realtor friend of theirs. Now I've invited 3 or 4 agents. I've got 8 agents there, 4 of them that I don't know. Those are new contacts I can put in this form, right? So that's a really great way for you guys to get the people to start talking to actually fill this out. Now, talk tos, you need to have 4 talk tos over 90 days. And that can be legitimately for anything. So for me, I always call at least 40 agents on every single Monday. And I'm really just calling them for a couple of different things, either asking them for a referral, telling them about a success we've had with a client. We all do tough deals. So take a second to brag about it.
Quick, just to jump in. So 40 agents every single Monday, that would be some of these agents from this list, like the 100 agents. But would it be any of your transactions in progress? Yeah, anyway, sorry, I'm making things too complex.
No, you're good. So yes, from those agents there on that form, the easiest way to do it is break up your calls. So if you are, let's say, everyone should have time to make prospecting calls right now because of the market that we're in. So I would advise you, if you want to call 50 agents on Monday and call another 50 agents on Wednesday, or you can break it up and call, whether that be 20 for 5 days, right? So every day you call 20 agents. You're calling through the entire form once a week. You're not going to hit every single agent every single time, but over that 90 days, you're going to hit all of them, right? So that way you're getting out there, your prospecting, right? Those are your talk tos. So when you call a real estate agent, you're only calling them for like 4 different things. So the first one is to set an appointment. So if you don't know that agent, or you just met them at a happy hour, or you just met them because your buddy introduced you to them, you're not really going to ask them for a lead right away. You're going to say, hey, I'd love to get together with you, learn more about your business, and see if I can help you create more business this year, right? So that's where it's always coming from contribution. If you ask, like, if you tell them, hey, we got this great new program, I want to meet with you and tell you about it and go through all this stuff, most agents you're going to lose at hello, because you're talking about yourself a lot, right? So you want to be interested in those agents and not interesting to those agents, if that makes sense. So first purpose, set an appointment and learn about them, right? So take notes, see what they like, see what they don't like. We can do a whole separate class just on that. After you got the meeting, next thing you want to do is invite them to an event. So if you have a poker night, if you have a happy hour, if you do something like that, you can invite them to an event. Third reason is to ask them for a referral. So if it's an agent that you work with a lot, you can say, hey, Nathan, I'm looking at my lead tracker. I haven't heard from you. I haven't had any clients come through from you in the last 2 weeks. Is something going on? Like, how can I help you get some business right now? Right? That's how I always start the conversation. And for them, they might have just forgotten to give you somebody, or they say, oh yeah, I sent your contact information to Joe over the weekend. Oh, great. Well, I haven't heard from Joe yet. Do you mind sharing his information with me so I can make sure I'm following up on that, right? Because a lot of times the agents that I work with don't send the client's information to me, they send my information to the client. So I'm working on that and I'm training them, but you have to kind of, sell that a little bit too. And then the last one is to share some kind of like meaningful information that's actually going to help them close a deal. So this is where you don't want to pitch them products every single time, but you want to give them something that allows them to see you as valuable. So for example, I have a client that is purchasing new construction right now, and her house has not sold yet. And so she's freaking out. So I'm calling all my agents because I asked her, I was like, hey, what are you willing to go down to on the price of this home? So it's worth like 330. She's willing to go down to 315. So I used Mortgage Coach. I created a seller buy down report, and I started calling my realtors on Monday. Said, hey, do you have any clients that are looking and they're capped out right now at 285, but they just need a little bit more space? And they, all my agents are like, yeah, we have people like that. Like, great, here's a report really quickly, share it with your client, because the payment on this with the rate buy down is going to be comparable to a $285,000 purchase. That right there is adding value to not only your clients, but also your agents. And they know you're more valuable now because you're doing this and nobody else is, right? So those are all like little things you can be doing to really make sure that your agents are engaged with you and they'll take your call, right? So that's the talk tos right there. And then also sometimes I'll call agents for 2 hours on the weekends from, let's say 9 to about 11, in the morning till 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I'll just let them know, hey, Nathan, I'm working this weekend right now. I bet you are too. Just so you know, if any of your clients have any questions about mortgages, even if they're not my client, I'm more than happy to answer any questions for them, right? So you're letting your agents know that you are available. You're able to take those calls. You're able to help be a resource to them. And the more value you give, the more leads you're going to receive. And your reputation is going to grow as well in that market. Now, face-to-face meetings, that's pretty self-explanatory. You need to have 2 of those in that 90-day period. So for every agent, you need to meet with them at least twice. That could be a pop by to their office to drop off a gift. Could be a closing you have with them. Could be a lunch meeting, coffee. I personally like to schedule coffee appointments for about 30 minutes because I can knock out about 5 back to back in like 2.5 hours. That way, I'm only down for 2.5 hours of my day with meeting realtors, and it's just super time effective, right? So face-to-face meetings are a great way because, most people here, if you were going to be purchasing something or referring somebody out like an insurance agent or a title company, you're probably not going to refer that person out just by talking to them on the phone. That face-to-face interaction helps you build rapport, helps you realize that person's a real person, and it really just, sets that up. So face-to-face is probably the most important thing to be doing. Outside of that, every time I meet somebody face-to-face, I send them a thank you card. So I personally write those myself and address those and send those all out myself, which is, not probably the best use of my time, but it does have a really big impact with getting that conversion. Because if you meet with somebody and they send you a thank you card, I don't know about you guys, but I have like, 15,000 thank you cards right here up on my wall. I don't ever throw away the thank you cards that I get because it just means a lot that person took the time to write that out, right?
Yeah, and it's super uncommon these days just to have somebody to send you a thank you card. So like I remember it, like I remember I sent a referral to a guy out west and he closed a mortgage for his person. Completely forgot about it. Maybe 4 or 5 weeks later, the dude just sent me like a thank you card and I was like blown away. And I was probably back in like 2020, but I still remember. So it's kind of like if you're able to touch people, even if it's something that you think like, even if they just send you a referral and you just send them a thank you card, hey, thank you, it means a lot, boom. Like that's all it has to be. Like there doesn't have to be anything more than that. Or hey, it's great to talk to you, blah blah blah. So anyway, just wanted to
absolutely.
how powerful that is. So
thank you for chiming in on that because it's super impactful, right? And like I even got, how many times do agents call you guys? At least they call me and do this. And they're like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but I have this client. I don't know if they're going to get approved yet, but they wanted to check out this house. Can you please talk with them? And I'm like, yeah, like absolutely, no problem. Like you're feeding me business and you're giving me like my next paycheck. So it's not a problem at all. Like I'm actually really grateful that you decided to talk to me over the 20 loan officers that you know, right? So sharing that gratitude and letting them know that you really do appreciate them, I think is the most important part of this for sure. And then gifts. So with me gifting my agents, I really want it to be personable. I don't want to send them the same gift that I send everybody else because I feel like that's kind of, a cop out, right? Everyone has the stress balls. Everyone has the cookies and the donuts and all that stuff. So I want to do something that actually impresses that agent and ties into a personal connection that we've had. So whenever I'm meeting with an agent, I'm taking my notes. I will take a couple of notes either in front of them or in the car when I get back to it of just some things that they like and hobbies that they have, because we will talk about that eventually, whether it's at that meeting or on a phone call. So story behind this, I had a listing agent on a deal that she's got, I think 15 deals pending or something like that for this month. So she does a lot of business, she's crushing it. Yep, Facebook stalking is awesome as well. You can totally do that too. So with this agent, we were talking about how this deal was kind of going a little sideways because of an appraisal. And so it's not anybody's fault, but there's pressure all around just to get the deal done and move it forward. So we were joking, and she mentioned that she was going to have a martini that night. So I asked her, hey, just out of curiosity, what's your mailing address? I'm going to grab that really quickly from you. After we hung up the phone call, I went on Amazon, found like a $40, it was a martini kit or something like that, right? And so I mailed it over to her. The next day, because it came from Amazon, she called me and she was just raving about that martini gift, like for 5 minutes. And we now have an appointment scheduled for next week. So that right there, with a really big agent, they don't really get treatment like this from any lender. Maybe the lender that they work with all the time, maybe. But no lender is, very few lenders are calling them if they're a big agent. And if they are, they're just calling them trying to pitch them a product. Doing something like this is going to really help you stand out from the crowd and actually get that appointment. Now, Nathan, I know we talked about
and I think it's super important too, because like if I get super busy, I'll just give out like a Starbucks gift card to an agent or whatever. Like it's super easy, fast to do that. But I think it's super important, like what Jonathan was talking about with personable. Anything you can give that's personable, it's going to be about 10 times more impactful than just giving somebody like a Starbucks gift card, So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. I think that's.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to get really crazy, you can gift on credit pull with your borrowers. So if you send them like a little personal gift when you pull their credit because you have their address, that right there, they're not even shopping people anymore. They want to work with you because you actually understand them, right? So that's one thing we're working on putting together.
Yeah. Now, do you like ask a series of questions kind of in your initial like client interview to kind of figure out like what their hobbies are, what they like, what to gift them, I guess? That's actually a great tip. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and I don't want to go too far into this because it's not part of the actual deal here, but we can definitely do a separate thing on this. For the clients, I just have a regular conversation with them. So my process is I get the client in, I'm on the call, I'm on the phone with them. I figure out, okay, where is your, like, how do you know me? Like, who referred you over? How do you know that person? Make sure I'm edifying the referral source. Then I'm asking the client, who, like, do you have any questions, right? Because they always have questions. They'll ask me a couple different questions. I'll give them some answers, help get that taken care of. Then I'll say, hey, is there any other questions you have before I walk you through the next steps of the process? And then they'll say no after I've answered all their questions. So great, you need to fill out my client questionnaire. And I always call it a questionnaire, not an application, because like half of the people will fill out an application, 90% of people fill out a questionnaire. So I text them my questionnaire, which is my application link. They get it, it says Jonathan Wells mortgage application on there. They start filling it out. Maybe one or two of them will text me, hey, is this the right link? I'm like, yep, you're good. Like, okay, cool, fill it all out. Then now we just added a LOA. So he will now call them once the application comes through, make sure it's all cleaned up, get all the documents in. I've already scheduled the appointment for them to come into my office, or I'll go meet with them. But on that initial conversation, typically I'm figuring out what their hobbies are so I can send that gift out. And if I can't figure it out, then Matt, my LOA, can figure it out when he's on the phone with them as well. And it's like, it's not rocket science. It's just a basic, like, hey, what's one hobby of yours? Or like, how'd you meet your realtor? Oh, we met with this realtor at volleyball. Oh, great. You like to play volleyball. How long have you been doing that? These many years or whatever it is. Oh, awesome. Who's your favorite volleyball player? Oh, this person. Great. Okay. Like, what does this person have on eBay for $10 that I can send them? Right. Now,
awesome.
This is 100 realtors and 4 talk tos. So 400 talk tos, 200 face-to-face meetings, 200 cards, 200 gifts. So that's a lot of work for you guys to be doing. And there's going to be a lot of rejection you're going to have on this, right? I know I've been there. I've had realtors cuss me out. I've had realtors yell at me. The realtors never call me, like tell me to never call them again. But for every one realtor that's done that, I've had at least 2 or 3 agents tell me that because we're working together and because I'm able to take care of this deal, they're going to be able to further their career. That client's going to get into a home and create generational wealth. And everyone's lives are improved because of the work that I've done for that person, right? So you are going to get rejection with this form. You are going to get people that are pissed off at you, but you can't let that affect you, and you can't let that fear of rejection and the fear of the maybe take you away from all the success you can be having just by using this form and just by making a few extra phone calls. So I know we're running out of time here. So Nathan, is there anything else you want me to go over before we open this up for questions?
Yeah, I would just say that like it's like, what's the worst possible thing that could happen if somebody curses you out, right? Like you like literally like what's the worst possible thing? Like you would literally just click delete on this row and then you just add somebody else's name, right? Like and then you just add them into the rotation and boom, like you're good to go. So I see that quality a lot with high performers, is that they just don't, like rejection doesn't really seem to phase them and everything. And I would also keep in mind too that like your goal isn't to get all 100 agents to send you business, right, Jonathan? Like,
right.
Like if you work this perfectly, maybe 10 to 20% will end up sending you business consistently, something like that, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So it's really a numbers game, right? And so I think the biggest thing about this is just that some of us are probably doing this on a regular basis, but maybe 5 to 10 agents. And so the value in this is pumping this up to 100 agents and then tracking it so you stay accountable. So then you'll hit that 10 to 20% that you would start sending you business in the future. Like, would that be accurate to say, Jonathan? Or
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, if you call on 100 agents for 90 days, you're going to most likely get anywhere from 15 to 20 agents that work with you. But if you have 15 to 20 agents that work with you and they all send you roughly, one deal every 2 months, and you have 20, well, now you're at 10 loans a month, right? Just from those agents. And so, 10 loans a month is really good, especially right now.
Yeah. I'll go into I'll tell a story. So last year we had a loan that we closed, and this is kind of a funny story. But anyway, it's all in a remote area. It's like a single wide trailer for like $120,000. The broker had referred me to the buyer's agent, who was one of her top agents. And so I'd worked with a broker probably since like 2016, but she was, sending me out to some of her agents, and because I'd asked her, hey, can you introduce me? And that's back to what we were talking about. I was talking about the sideways referral. Like, hey, who do you know that I should know? And you could ask anybody in your circle, like your sphere of influence, that question and get introduced to real estate agents. And that is the best way, just to reiterate, to meet realtors. But so we had, so the way that the deal had gone sideways because basically our appraiser disappeared, and he had said, hey, it's a very remote area. I'm going to charge like $1,100 and I'll get you the report back in 30 days. I wasn't happy about it, but we were just like, we had set the expectations like, hey, it's going to take a long time. It's probably going to be, so whatever. Anyway, day 25, 26 rolls around, and we try to just reach out like, hey, and I think we'd reached out one time before, but he hadn't replied. We're like, hey, are you still on your timeline to meet the due date? Are you still on your timeline? No reply, nothing. Anyway, so we go 5 days past the due date, where we kept on calling the appraiser every single day, nothing. And I actually went so far as to like send a welfare check to his house from the police, because like he just literally wasn't replying. And so anyway, we took him off our board of appraisers. At that point in time, we're 35 days into the contract, and so we finally find another appraiser that will rush it out, but they'll have it to us back in 12 days. So now you're at probably, let's say, 35 plus 12. You're getting close to 50 days under contract, right? And it's like this crappy mobile home loan that people have like a 600 FICO score. They're getting gifts. You're trying to add together like 20 different things. So anyway, the realtor, she wasn't super happy about it. At that point in time, then we had like one other delay from title work, trying to get something off and stuff. And so anyway, we finally closed the deal, but the realtor, she was like, oh, and I think that the second appraiser was also like 5 days late on getting its appraisal back. So literally, the realtor was texting me like, hey, I want the license number for this appraiser. I'm going to report him. And she was like, the appraisers have been jerking me around all year. This will stop now. And I was like, okay, like we're not reporting anybody until we get the appraisal back. Like that's not what I'm like, oh my goodness. So I tried to, anyway, so probably around May of this year, I called back that broker, and I hadn't done a ton of business with her after that. I kind of knew that things, whatever, we had closed the deal and everything, but just like it was just painful. And so I called her back, and I was like, hey, so does Leah still remember me? Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh yes. She's like, she swears that she's never gonna use you again, blah blah blah. I was like, okay. I was like, well, I'm gonna I'll send her a gift or something and just say, hey, sorry about that, blah blah blah. Try to reiterate, there's only so much we can do with an appraiser in a rural area,
Right.
So anyway, I ended up getting more pre-approvals from that broker in the very next week after I called her. And she was completely fine with me, but it was just kind of like my embarrassment, like my, oh my goodness, like you just kind of feel internally like, and so bad things happen, even if it's not your fault. If you just brush it off, that's the best thing I could say, is to go back to any of the people. So that's like what I'm trying to say is like, don't put somebody on this list just because you think they quote unquote might be mad at you. You can still do the strategy with them. A lot of times they probably won't even remember. Other times they'll appreciate the effort, and if it's really not your fault, they'll just move on and life goes on, So anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that, to that point too, every quarterback has at least 2 or 3 different receivers they throw to, right? Just like every realtor has 2 or 3 different lenders they throw to. If we drop past, we're probably not going to get the next one. But if we stick around and we keep lining up, we're going to get thrown a ball eventually, right? And if you're just out there doing your thing, you're going to be fine. And like I've messed up deals too, probably more than anybody. And you got to be honest about it. Say, hey, this is the mistake that we made. We're not going to make that mistake again. Give us one more shot, right? I just need one more shot. Let's make it happen. And if you're doing a lot of this stuff and you have a good relationship with those agents, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds good. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to share on the call here? I don't see anything.
Is that Larry? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, I have a question. So you're calling these agents, let's say it's a brand new agent that you haven't even connected with at all. You just happen to have the information. How do you start the call? Like, what do you say? What's the first thing you say when you call them and they pick up?
Yeah. So typically, just to kind of preface it a little bit for you, Larry, typically with my agents, I'm not doing cold calls a lot. It's usually warmed up by knowing somebody that knows them. So whether it's a title rep or it's another agent that they know, but I'd simply call and say, hey, Larry, it's Jonathan Wells with the Wells Funding Group. I got your information from Nathan over at Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. How are you today?
Okay.
They'd be like, hey, I'm doing great. Awesome. Hey, so Nathan told me a lot of great things about you, said you're a really hard worker and you're a rock star agent. And like, tell me about that, right? And so they'll start talking about themselves a little bit. Hey, I love working with rock star agents. When can we get together? I'd love to see if I can help you get some extra transactions this year. Let's get together. That's really all I'm saying, because I want to learn about that agent, because I don't want to work with everybody. So if that agent's a train wreck and I realize that on our first meeting, probably not going to follow up with that agent. But if we have a really good conversation, they like referral business, I like referral business, they want to partner with somebody who gets it, more than happy to work with them.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this goes back to, like, I wrote down these notes, so I'll probably pass them through in the chat, but there's like the 4 reasons that he calls agents, which is either to like, hey, do you want to know how to grow your business? How can I help you? Or to invite them to an event, or to ask them for a referral, or to share some meaningful information, blah, blah, blah. Is that fair to say, Jonathan? Like, that's, you're not totally cold calling them, and then you primarily have like 4 different reasons to be talking to them. And so it's never like just, hey, I want to waste your time, but you have like a specific reason for the phone call. So
absolutely. Yeah. Purpose of my call is I want to get to know you. When can we get together? So absolutely.
Sure. So, cool. That sounds good. So, hey, and we're going to be getting you to be using LoanGraphs some more, Jonathan. I'm excited about this, but do you want me just to run through real quick? You guys could hop off the call if you want to, but you really should stay around, because I think this is a pretty cool tool. So basically what it is you can be going through, you can do a purchase report, refinance, you could make a copy of any existing template. It's really just a software tool that you can use to like educate your consumers. And to kind of go back to what Jonathan was saying, that this is also something that you could call your realtors about. So if you're going to be having something where, like you have the buyer pre-approved, you can send it over to the buyer. You can also send it to the realtor and just say, hey, here's XYZ, the financial advice that I gave to the person. So whatever. So on this, it's really just going to be comparing like different options. So pretty much anything that you want to compare on the, so let's say that they have a $350,000 house. And a lot of times or whatever. So let's say this is like an initial pre-approval for somebody. They don't know exactly what price point of house that they want, right? So maybe they kind of want to stick around 350,000 because that's the payment that you discussed for them. You could also say, hey, here's 300,000 and here's 400,000, right? As long as they're pre-approved up for a little bit more. So 300. And this is how quick it is. So we try to keep it to where it'll be, I think I already have Marilyn. So cool. So you'll be talking to her. You'll kind of be giving her advice on it. This could be any of your fee sheet that you have already saved. Obviously, you would change these things, and you could change kind of like what the fee templates are. We're going to be integrating with the title company to where you would just put an address and it would automatically pull in kind of what the title fees will be for that. Rates are going to be probably closer to 5% these days, so for 6. So just depending. Anyway, let's just say one of them is 5.75. So with these, like the inputs, you can type in, hey, if it's going to be $50 a month, or if you do have the actual percentage, you can just have that input typed in, so you don't have to do any math in your head. Same thing with this, it would just be showing, and this is actually like my favorite feature. So if they are looking at a house specifically, you can search the address by the address and you can apply it. It's going to pop in the property taxes. So then you save the report, you take a look at the report, and the client's actually going to see this view, and they're actually going to be able to change and say, hey, I want to be making $250 a month of extra payment. So you're going to be able to break down, number one, like, hey, how much interest are you going to save? And this is super, super important now. Like with interest rates being so high, people don't really know how to think about interest rates being 6% and they used to be 3%. And so they're thinking, hey, it's going to cost me a lot more now, which it will. And that's why I think it's even more important to try to be coaching people, hey, you can be making extra monthly payments to kind of fit your financial goals, right? So yeah, they'd see all the cash, they'd see the down payment, what the payments would look like. So just the minimum.
So it goes over closing costs as well. Does it break down points on there as well?
Yes, there can be a seller credit, there can be a lender credit or discount point. So you can add that on for each scenario if you wanted to. Nice. So you could buy the rate down. For example, if you wanted to do the seller buy down strategy you had talked about earlier, I would just put the points in right here for discount points. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there, but that's one thing that I'm not crazy about with like Mortgage Coach, because it doesn't show the points on the front of the report. Yeah. And my pricing is probably worse than anybody else on the call. Like I do charge a little bit more, but it's nice for the clients to actually see what's on there, because then when they get their loan estimate, they're like, oh, well, there's points on here. It's like, well, yeah, because I quoted you that, but you just didn't see it.
The other thing to point out too is that a lot of the other softwares too, they don't break apart all the different pieces of the payment. So if the payment just looks at this, they're like, oh my goodness, $2,500, that is freaking ridiculous, especially here in Texas, when this amount right here could be like $700 a month, $500, $600, $700 a month. So they're like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. So for like transparency with the clients, I found it was best to break out everything so they can be saying, hey, okay, this is just principal and interest. This is the mortgage insurance you're going to be paying a month. This is going to be your insurance. And so that way you can kind of put those costs onto them. You're like, hey, that's not my expense, the insurance and the property taxes, Right. So, and then right here too, this is going to be something too where you can try to help your clients think about the future. So let's say that they're going to own the house for 7 years. And let's say you just say, on average, I think they'll have 2% appreciation. Like I'm going to be super conservative. You can walk over them and say, hey, here's what your net worth would be at the end of those years. And basically what that does is that just takes the amount that they're going to pay down on the mortgage, and then it'll take their down payment plus the appreciation, and it'll be showing them like what their net worth would be kind of at the end of that. So I think that's super, super helpful to like have people be thinking about their financial future versus just thinking about 6% interest rates versus a year ago it was 3%, right? So and yeah, so I'd say if you guys want to leverage that, I'll give everybody kind of like a free trial, and it's also super affordable. It's like $49 a month. If you want to like do like a Loom recording, we actually have this where it'll just pop out and it'll start recording your screen. It might not do it because, oh, it will, okay. So you can just instantly start screen recording this and send it to your client as well. And you can copy the link, you can send it downloads. After you close, we also have like a landing page too for you guys. So they can go through and they can kind of get like their HomeBot report where they'd be able to find their property address. And like, for example, Jonathan, you could pick whatever URL you want to, but it could be like Jonathan/home or whatever. And they'll just be able to go through the landing page and kind of get set up. So
nice.
The other landing page you have too is the consumers can go through and see like what their credit karma would be, but with like actually the TransUnion FICO score, like it's going to be like the mortgage accurate one. And again, this is going to be like your landing page link. So it could be like /Jonathan/credit. And then you can set up to where it's only going to, it's going to cost about like $1.50 per month for each consumer, but you could put it where after a month, it's just going to shut off. So you can kind of, chat with all the people about that. So yeah, well, that's just kind of a brief preview of it. But if you guys just email me after the call, drop my email in here, then I could get you guys more information about it. And then
I see Rich Vaughn is on the call.
Rich.
He's a friend of mine from the core.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, we kind of went over everything. So
awesome. Cool.
Any last questions, guys? We'll probably just wrap up here in a second, and I'll let you guys go. It's almost 4:40, so we're a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to hop off real quick here,
cool.
But yeah, thank you all so much. Hopefully this helps some of the people on here get some more realtor referrals. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, just reach out to Nathan, and we'll get it all taken care of.
Sounds good. I think so. Anyway, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you later.
Thank you.